Howdy y'all, I'm TJ.
And I'm Charles C. And welcome to our review of Fallout 4. So if you've been following our channel, you'll know that we've been talking about Fallout 4 for quite some time, and we're really excited to finally be able to bring you this review.
And since we're both equally invested into Fallout 4, we thought it'd be only fitting to do this review together.
If you haven't played the game yet, don't worry. This review is 100% spoiler free.
So without further ado, let's get to it. This is our review of Fallout 4.
Fallout 4 takes place in the Boston Commonwealth, home to one of Bethesda's fullest and most vibrant worlds to date.
The Commonwealth is beautiful and immersive, and the map layout ensures that everywhere you go there's adventure to be had.
Environments are colorful, but in such a way that lends itself perfectly to the post-apocalyptic setting. Everything is nice to look at, but you never forget that the world is devastated.
Bethesda has really taken full advantage of the setting here, both in terms of visual appeal and narrative.
This is, without spoiling anything, one of Bethesda's most competent stories to date. You get a real sense of consequence here in a way that past Bethesda titles haven't quite been able to accomplish yet. And this is in no small part due to the inclusion of a voice protagonist, which, by the way, works perfectly here.
Now, I'm not as far along in the main storyline as Charles C. is. I'm kind of circling it like a hawk as I typically do with Bethesda games. But I'm definitely interested, and that's coming from a gamer who's not always in it so much for the narrative. I think it's great that it still allows for open play and exploration, and this is an excellent improvement over Fallout 3 and New Vegas.
Now again, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but there are some seriously emotional moments in the game. And the best part is that depending on the type of character you're actively role-playing as, these moments take on completely new meaning and significance from your own perspective. In this way, Fallout 4 encourages you to role-play beyond just in the game, but even in your mind actually.
Now, we've definitely got to get this out of the way really quickly. The graphics in Fallout 4 aren't bad. They may not be the best in current gen, but that's no reason to miss out on this experience. Improved textures and animations, as well as some excellent character and creature models, make the graphics more than passable. I particularly drool over the explosions.
Working off of that, when the game was first announced, I mentioned that I found the graphics to be stylistic. And I still stand by that here. They may not be cel-shaded or water paint style or anything like that, but they do tend to lend themselves, I think, to a specific look and feel. And I think that might have been deliberate. So clearly this isn't a big issue to neither TJ nor myself. And although for some this might be something that's worth taking a few points off for, to us, it just didn't damage the game or the experience overall, and so we will not be removing any points from our scores for that.
I would argue that the real meat of the game lies in its actual gameplay. Speaking as a returning Fallout veteran, the combat in particular is a lot of fun. It's classic Fallout action with more polish and better performance, although the melee still felt a little bit wonky to me.
In terms of the combat, there are just so many different ways to come at it from. Do you want to go in guns blazing, a little more tactical like TJ, or somewhere in the middle like myself? It's all doable, and it is all a ton of fun. And speaking as someone who's new to Fallout but familiar with Bethesda titles in general, I do have to report that there is something of a learning curve for new players, but it's not hard to get past, and once you do, the combat is a lot of fun.
One thing I want to mention is the change to the VAT system. I think it works really well with this kind of gameplay because it keeps everything moving. Instead of stopping, now VATS goes into kind of a slow-mo, which can really give you a tactical edge if you use it right, but also just helps to maintain tension. My only gripe at this point with the combat is I wish we could utilize cover better. The game really needs some kind of a cover system. Other than that, the combat is smooth and fun.
The settlement crafting got me early on. It is super addictive to be walking around, scrapping anything and everything for resource, and it is really rewarding to look at once you have something finally built up.
Settlements help to give a lot of importance to looting and hoarding, because scavenging junk out in the world is one of your main ways of obtaining resources. So you're constantly thinking on your journey about what you should be picking up and leaving behind. Maybe you need stuff with more screws in it, like I always do, so you just leave the stuff with wood and rubber lining.
The settlements are nice because beyond just building them up for fun, it's also really useful to have a safe place to go sleep and store all your extra stuff at. So definitely get into it early on.
Along those same lines, modding weapons and armor is really engaging and helps you to get attached to the weapons you work with.
It is so much fun to build up a really awesome weapon and to see just how far you can take the simplest of gear like a pool stick or a dinky little 10mm pistol. It is seriously addictive sometimes.
As far as crafting systems in video games go, this is definitely one of the best. It fits right at home in Fallout, and I can't imagine the game without it, having now utilized it.
And as long as we're talking about customization, let's talk about the character creator, which in my opinion is nothing short of the best character creation system I have ever gotten my hands on. I spent my first 2 hours designing my character and his wife. Obscure little details like exactly where their jawbone lands on their face or how high or low their cheekbones are. This one just really takes it far. My only real complaint with it, actually, is that I wish that they had a few more hairstyles. Although it does have a lot compared to a lot of games, video games in general just never seem to have enough for them for me, and it would have been really cool to see Fallout go all out with it. But aside from that, this is without a doubt the most detail-oriented character creation system I've ever seen, and probably one of the most out there.
Power armor is a lot of fun. You can craft and customize it similar to your other weapons and armor, adding different pieces to different layers, meaning you can have a different component for your right arm than that of your left arm, and so on. There are also different paint jobs that you can pick up and apply at no cost to multiple suits. Overall, it just feels like you're a guy working in his garage on his truck, and it's really endearing and fun.
The perk and leveling system feels nice and simple, yet deep and branching simultaneously. It makes leveling up just as much strategic as it is rewarding. Are you going to invest into a perk, or are you going to invest into a stat to get access to a perk? It's a nice little layer that makes you have to think about how you're going to level your character up, not just about leveling them up in general. And in addition, there are now magazines scattered across the world that work similarly to bobbleheads, except instead of raising a stat, it gives you an extra bonus perk.
Overall, I think Fallout 4 is a solid progression for the Fallout franchise. I have the vague hope that this is some kind of a predecessor to a Fallout MMO, but even if not, I'm perfectly happy to continue supporting the franchise.
And my final thoughts on Fallout 4, as someone who is new to Fallout specifically, are positive. I am definitely a new fan. I think it's easy enough for new players to embrace Fallout 4. And as a Bethesda title, I also agree that this game is a wholehearted progression. I loved how the whole Commonwealth felt like there was this really strong, really deep culture already existing beyond just the apocalypse. It was especially present in Diamond City. And I just think that this entire game, everything about it, is one big step forward for Bethesda. Here's hoping that they bring some of this over to Elder Scrolls.
So here's my verdict on Fallout 4. I was tempted to give it a 9 just for the typical Bethesda bugs, a couple of AI pathing issues, and little stuff like that, but you know what? It's just too much darn fun, and I've got to give it a 10.
My final verdict is actually on the opposite side of that, believe it or not. I want to give this game a 10 out of 10. In my heart, it feels like a 10 out of 10. I love this game, and to me, it really is kind of darn near perfect. But looking at it objectively, considering some of the frame rate issues that are very rare, by the way, but still present on console, and a few of the other little issues here and there, I have to give it a still solid 9.5 out of 10. And that's only for consumer sake.
Although once you get up past 8.5, pretty much you have to buy it anyway.
Yeah. So there you have it, our review on Fallout 4.
So tell us what you thought about the game. Did you love it or hate it? What kind of character build did you take on? And what sticks out to you the most about this fine addition to the franchise?
Leave a comment down below, and if you like what you saw, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos like these.
I'm TJ.
And I'm Charles C. Patterson. And we'll see you next time on Operation Cleverbox.